many people think that you may have to train all the time, but I think it's not the way it is. It's important to balance life as well, because there's more than just training or doing, like, sport is good, but I think it's important to balance out in such a way that you're not consumed by this, and having a short downfall like a crash doesn't impact you so much that it takes away your identity or something like that. They had really good perspective about the sport. They asked me questions like if I like doing it, and I think nobody ever asked me like, do you want to get faster or something like that. And I think when you like doing something, you would always get better at it, right? So I like doing the sport, and I took in the effort to train better, and from then on I could progress towards becoming a better athlete.
I am Baiki Venki, and this is the Working Athlete Podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, time management, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future episodes. Today's guest is a Bengaluru boy currently working in Germany as a doctorate candidate in computing. He is one of the fastest triathletes of Indian origin. His timing of 4 hours 19 minutes for a 70.3 event is still the fastest time for the event by any Indian. A humble and down-to-earth guy, he made his way to many age group podiums in running and triathlon through his consistent hard work. He's a romantic at heart and a nice poet too. His name is Sujay Shalawadi. Welcome to the Working Athlete Podcast, Sujay. It is a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So, what does your work at this Bosch University, right? What does it involve?
Yeah, a PhD candidate since 1 year. And shortly we'll be moving to another unit. We'll be relocating to Denmark to start working with the same professor who actually moved there. So, but the work is still the same. So what I do is I finished my master's in computer science, specialized in the field of human-computer interaction, mainly to do with prototyping and seeing how I can build prototypes which could be providing organic interactions for people from apart from like the traditional ways of computing, that you see, that is using screens. So this is mostly my research direction, and this will go on for another 2.5 to 3 years. This is what I would be doing for my dissertation, and hopefully be contributing something novel in this scope of research. So this is what I do actually since 1 year, and I also did my master's since 2016. That's when I came here, and as a master's student, and did my master's for 2.5 years. And during the last 6 months, I managed to get this research position where I could be absorbed in the same university as a researcher and a PhD candidate. So that's what I've been up to, apart from chasing triathlon goals and endurance related goals. This is primarily what I do apart from sports.
Awesome, yeah. So, human-computer interaction, huh? Sounds really exciting.
Yes.
And futuristic.
Yes, it does. It sounds really exciting because it's a very cross-disciplinary field. Because I did my bachelor's in Bangalore in Ramaya, which is quite famous in the city, one of the famous engineering colleges. And I did my bachelor's in computer science, and I worked for 1 year in Bangalore. And I wanted to do something more related to more human related than just sit behind a cubicle, so this is what I shifted towards, and it's been successful so far, so I plan to take it forward.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So coming to sport, what is your first love when it comes to sport? What was the sport that you loved as a kid and started playing?
uh, the first ever sport that I can really remember was swimming, because of an incident I had when I was 4 years old. I actually fell into a tank in my aunt's house. So it was a new house, so they hadn't covered the tank, but they just put a cloth. And I was just curious, jumping around, and I just put my foot in on top of this cloth surface because it looked fascinating. As a 4-year-old, you're just so curious and jumping around. That's what I did. And I fell into this tank, and my mother does not know swimming. She didn't know swimming at that time. And only my aunt was familiar with swimming because of her village background. She, like, you typically, when you're from the village, you somehow learn swimming at least to float. So that's what my aunt knew. And she immediately jumped in and pull me out, so that's when my mother realized that, okay, like, swimming is something, it's a life skill and needs to be learned. And I think we came back to Bangalore after that holiday, and she immediately subscribed for like this summer camp, but they said I have to come after 1 year because 5 years is like the minimum age. So apart from like just playing around, 5 years was when I started like really going to a summer camp for swimming, and that's when my relation with water started, I would say. And yeah, I think till I was about 10 years, 5 years, I continued swimming, not at a competitive level, but to an extent of doing it as a weekly, more than like as a routine. Like, I used to go swim 3 times a week, not very competitively, because I had some problems of eating good food at that time, so I didn't have enough energy to compete. But I just swam, and after that, like, yeah, I played basketball during my middle school, and I was running a bit because I have a very lean frame, so I could just run naturally in school. Like, I was able to not be the best, but I could still run and be able to represent the school. So that's what I did mostly. And yeah, this was primarily what I did till I, got the second chance to come back to sport after like 5 years ago. So this is what I mostly did. Like, I'm so happy
Nice.
that the drowning incident happened, and that's how I could get this connection to water, because I think swimming is not usually the first sport choice for many parents in India, to put their kids in. Maybe now, but I'm talking about in the 90s.
Yeah,
Like, the number of pools was so few, and it was like not really famous sport.
correct, correct. So now that you did swimming and then did a bit of basketball and then running. But
Yeah.
yeah, as you said, coming back to sport, 5 years, running was the sport again that you got into, right? How did
Yes,
that
in
happen?
2014, actually, it was a very strange event that I was like, one of my friends suggested that we could sign up for this event, which was this stair climbing event in this Orion Mall. There's this Brigade Tower there, which has got 32 floors. And there was
Right.
this event, I think it was called Skyscraper Dash. And it was quite famous. Like, this set of uh, staircase running was quite famous during that time. Like, they were doing it a lot in America as well, on these Manhattan buildings. So that had like picked up popularity. So it had to come to India eventually, right? So it showed up, and then I thought, okay, let's just do this. And that's when I started really running again, because we had to like run 2.5 kilometers first and then climb 32 floors. So that's when I started running, and I could not even run like for 800 meters in 2014, I would say. At like yeah, I could not run continuously for 800 meters, and it was quite funny that there was a guy in my apartment who was jogging quite consistently at that time, and he was like smiling at me all the time, like in a very cheeky way, like, come on, like I'm like double your age. And so that sort of fired me up to start training a little more consistent. And after that, there's been no looking back. After that event, I went on to do this Kaveri Trail Marathon. As like directly, I jumped into this because my neighbor said this is a pretty cool event. He's been doing it since several years, so he said I could join him. And oh, that was a shocker. Like I didn't know the intensity or like the extent to which your body needs to be adapted to in order to run 21 kilometers. So I ran 14 kilometers with whatever fitness I'd like sort of gathered for that Skyscraper dash. And I go 14 kilometers, I get cramps and ended up walking and all of that. And it took me like 2 hours and 3 or 4 minutes to cross that line in Kaveri Trail Marathon. And that's when I decided that I needed some way of some routine, like some motivated people to be around with. So I was given suggestions that there are several running groups in Kantirava who train every week, like 2 or 3 times. And I think I did TCS again, like in the next couple of months because it was popular. And that's when I got introduced to pacemakers. And my neighbor was already training with them. So that's how I progressed to joining a group, and that elevated my running to a lot of to many levels from there, because the coach in pacemakers, Pani sir, like he's quite he knows his stuff. He knows every runner. He knows how to improve everybody's fitness. Every like all the runners there are self motivated, and this is what I needed, and I got it. And I was a part of this group for like 1.5 years till I made this move to Germany. So that's the time when I joined this group, and I met Akshay Raju there.
Yeah, all of this was in 2014. Like the stair dash.
2014-15.
Okay,
yeah.
So your Kaveri Trail Marathon was Kaveri Trail Marathon was also 2014, or the staircase dash was in 2014?
Yes, staircase dash was in 2014 in July, and the same year in September was the Kaveri Trail Marathon. That's when it happens, right? Like in September. So that was when I did it. And 2015 was when I did my first TCS 10K.
Okay.
Like I think I still remember I did like that 10K in 47 minutes, and I was super proud of it. And till I got to know what the timings of like this was not even enough to get a podium on the 50 to 55 age group, and I was like, okay, fine, this is yeah. Awesome. So that was a reality check.
Okay, and that's what got you interested in structured training, and you joined pacemakers at that point of time.
Yes, I was. I joined pacemakers because I wanted to capitalize on the second opportunity I got towards sports again, and I thought somehow I should make this integrated into my lifestyle, and I can take it forward from there. And didn't have any intention of doing triathlon or any multi-sport event. I just thought, okay, people are running and they're doing it consistently. This is really good. I need some routine, and this was the only intention I went with to join the group. And And for me personally, when I see people pushing, I just join along to like also push my limits.
Right.
That's something I like doing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So how did your training till you joined pacemakers go, and how did it change after joining pacemakers?
Mm. Till I joined pacemakers, I did like run mostly because I didn't know anything about triathlon at that time. So I was just running maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and certainly extended my running duration. And I was getting better. So till like the TCS in 2015, I was just training on my own, and through whatever. I didn't have any structured training, but I had a routine to just go run. And through that, I was able to manage running the 10 kilometers in 2015. And when I saw like the pacemakers in 2015 TCS like running quite efficiently and smoothly, that's what like triggered a lot of positive feelings that even I could beat like that. I just need to be around such people training like this. And so that's like before that, I was just like running and trying to just go as hard as I could. Like I didn't know anything. Like sometimes I used to go super hard and realize that okay, like this is really good training, and maybe I've only run 4 or 5 kilometers. So yeah, there was no structure, but I certainly built some routine. That
Yeah.
I used to wake up in the morning and go run. So that was the main takeaway from that period of having no structure, but to build a routine. This is when I realized that I like running. I like doing sports.
Nice. And how did it change? So you were basically got into a routine of running 2-3 times a week before getting into
Yes.
pacemakers. But once you
Yes.
got into pacemakers, how did that change, and how did it help? Or, how did your 10K pace, change from 47? Where did it come to?
Oh yeah, in 2016 I ran the TCS again after going through a phase of training from I think September of 2015 was when I joined pacemakers, and since then I was training with them. And yeah, so I got down in 2016 my TCS 10K time was 39 minutes.
Wow.
So this is what I could do with what I could manage with pacemakers, and the companionship I developed with the runners there. So running interval training and some tempo running, all of this was unheard of for me at before joining pacemakers. And to like to see these training plans given by Panisa or like on Excel sheets, like in such a disciplined manner, only like made me feel like firstly grateful that I could be a part of this whole community, and second, I really liked all of this. I really like such structured way of training because I always like to do things with a purpose, like with even sports. Like I like it when the coach tells me, okay, so from this training block, you would probably gain this sort of fitness, and and that way, like Pani sir and the other runners out there who were more experienced were quite open about sharing what they knew so far about running, and this was good for me because I could learn from their experiences and the benefits of doing these different types of run training, and what's the effect of doing a long run, and what's how to do a progressive run, and how does this all come into to play when you have to like run a race in real. So and the whole fact of learning how to stretch your body, and my introduction to yoga, and yoga for like running, all of this was possible only because I joined such a group which who were also curious and were learning all the time. So it was a learning process for them, and for me, like I would like be there and like tag along, because I was also curious to see what are the various ways of doing different types of training to become better. So and there were like different levels of groups and pacemakers based on your ability to run. And yeah, when I joined, I was quite at the low, and obviously I'm quite competitive that way, so I tried my best to train and go forward, go to the next group. And yeah, so that was like weekly motivation for me, that I want to get better every session so I can jump to the faster group and do my intervals with them. And eventually I managed to get onto one of the fast groups and pacemakers till I was training with them. So yeah, this was what I managed. And in 2016, my run fitness was really good. I realized that I like running and I think I'm good at it. Like, that's when I realized that I think I'm good at it. And yeah,
Nice.
that was my time there.
Awesome, awesome. So with structured training coming in and the frequency of runs also increasing, I guess 8 minutes improvement from TCS 10K in 2015 to 2016.
Yeah.
That's quite a jump, right? 8 minutes.
Yes. I think,
Awesome.
yeah, I felt it was a great, I could see that the real benefits of training, like, to pull out 8 minutes from a 10-kilometer race was like huge. And you could, like, if you extrapolated, then you could also see that I would have become better at like even the half marathon.
Yeah.
So that also happened because when I ran the Hyderabad half marathon with the pacemakers again after a few months in August of the same year, from 2 hours 3 minutes, I came down to 1 hour 33 minutes. So that was
Wow.
also an effect of this sort of structured training that I was a part of.
Half an hour.
Yes,
Cut down.
yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That is
So
awesome.
yeah, that was my last running race before like I packed my bags and came here.
And Hyderabad marathon is quite a challenging route too, right?
Yes, because you have to run on like I think 7 flyovers, because it's in the new part of Hyderabad, which has a lot of flyovers. So you have to just keep running up and down these flyovers.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was a good route. Like if I ever get a chance to do it again, I will do it. It's not just the route, but the whole atmosphere is really great. So yeah, good city too. And obviously the post race biryani that you can have, I think it's worth the trip. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I would just go there for the biryani, if not for the race.
Yeah. I think that's the main thing, right? The post-race food is something which always is on your mind when you're doing these races, because you visualize yourself that you finished the race and you're like celebrating with good food back in your body. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, staying on that, on the topic of the half marathon timings, right? So, what is your personal best so far in the half marathon?
um, I haven't ran in the last 2 years a half marathon by itself, but like in 2018, 2019 was when I did like this sort of morning run with a friend. So we did this route which had a lot of hills, about 250 meters of elevation gain on this 21 kilometers route. And over there I did 1 hour 18 minutes.
Wow.
18 minutes and 12 seconds. So that was like the very last time I really did running only timed race. So
Okay.
yeah, because after Hyderabad, I wanted to focus more on triathlon, because I like this complexity of the sport, because it involves more than running. I love running. But I realized that I love running after the bike more than just
Okay.
running
Okay.
with fresh legs, So
Let's
yeah.
talk about that. So how did the idea of triathlon come into the picture? You were just running till that point. Uh,
Yes. So when I was in pacemakers, that's when I met Akshay Raju, and he was he's a very social guy. So I think he knew everybody who were like in the cycling community as well, and that's how I got introduced to cycling as a sport as well. Like I just had a very basic bike at that time, like a hybrid bike, which I just joined along. That's how I got introduced to Crankmeister, and Akshay Raju also knew other people like say Dipankar Paul, because above Crankmeister was where Dipankar Paul was working. So and I heard about him doing this super long event called Ironman, and sounded really fascinating. And I was like, okay, I can swim for sure. Yeah, I can also run, and I can cycle anyway. So so that's when I got introduced to this concept of triathlon, and got to know that there are also triathlon races in India. Heard about this Tonnur Triathlon, which was quite popular in the area at that time. That's when Akshay Raju said, let's just do that Tonu triathlon. And that's when I did my first triathlon as well in 2015 um, in, um, in September. So that was my first ever triathlon with like very basic training. Like I got back to swimming after a very long time, like more than a decade, I think. Like I said, I stopped swimming at the age of 10, and I started swimming again when I was like 22 or 23. Like, yeah, I was 22 at that time. So after 12 years, I got back into the water and just sort of like started swimming, and use the same hybrid bike to do the sprint triathlon. And I could already run, so I did quite okay on the run. And in Tonur, I finished second over there in my first ever attempt at a sprint distance triathlon. And I was like, yes, this is really cool. And after that was when we decided, like both Akshay and me decided to sign up for the 70.3 race in Malaysia the next year, in 2016 April. And that was when I put my foot into this sport of triathlon, so yeah.
Nice, nice. So that is I think an organic way of kind of getting into the sport, since you know the swimming as a kid, and then you have been running, and
Yeah.
someone introduced to cycling, and then you kind of put together all three, and inspired by
Yeah.
people like Dipankar, doing these Ironman events. We got
Yeah.
inspired and gotten. And a podium in the first triathlon is not a bad boost to that interest,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
that is quite something, when you are when you kind of take part in an event just on a whim and then end up on a podium,
Yeah.
that there is something here,
That's
and
true. That's
awesome,
true.
awesome, awesome. So how did this first 70.3 event in 2016 go?
Um, it was very overwhelming and to start with, because um, like I hadn't so I had done like two local events before that, like the Goa Triathlon and the Chennai Triathlon, like the Olympic distance. So that's one higher than the sprint distance. but below the 70.3. So I did these two races. Fortunately, they were happening before the 70.3 race in April 2016. So these two races happened in February and March. So I just did this to get some exposure on just doing all the three together. And I had no coach to do this sport at that time. I was still running with pacemakers because I liked this whole camaraderie of this group, so I wanted to keep that and did the running 3 times a week with them, and the remaining time, whatever I could do with swimming and biking, I did it on my own. And when I went to 70.3 in Malaysia, I I took a long time to finish the 70.3 distance. It took me 5 hours and 44 minutes. It felt super long, and I remember coming to the finish line, and my mother had also come with me to this race, and a friend had also come. So they clicked some photos, and when I saw the photos of these guys riding really well, like the winners of my age group and the faster guys, it really gave me the hope that even I could do that one day. And it's just a matter of spending some time on doing the sport. And I didn't have any negative impact from all this overwhelming feeling, because you can imagine that you're coming out of the water and the guys in your age group, who are leading your age group, are already 6 or 7 kilometers into the bike. And I think it's like it. You could always take it in a demotivating way, but I never looked at it that way. I always felt that I can also be that person one day. It's just a matter of time. So yeah, I did this race, and my mother was very supportive. She's like, yeah, I think you should take the sport up. Even after you go to Germany, you'll have more races there, and all of that. So it was good to also get that extra bit of nudge from family as well, right? So it's like when the people who care for you also nudge you in the right way. I think all of this came together, and I came back with a lot of positive thoughts from this race, that I'm so glad to have this exposure to an international event. It was a super hard race, and the post race ceremony, where I got a chance to interact with some of the fast athletes out there, from say Australia. These guys had been doing the sport for 10 years and 12 years, and also the fact that there were athletes who were racing and their parents were also racing in the senior age group. So it showed me that it's about committing yourself towards fitness, and all these fast times and all of that is just a side effect of committing to this process. And it was really good talking to them, and they were really kind enough to tell me that, hey, that's you just started it, that's good. I hope they had really good perspective about the sport. They asked me questions like if I like doing it, and I think nobody ever asked me do you want to get faster or something like that. And I think when you like doing something, you would always get better at it, right? So I like doing the sport, and I took in the effort to train better, and from then on I could progress towards becoming a better athlete.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So taking that experience from 2016, your first 70.3 event, what are some of the learnings that you had from that event?
So I realized that whenever I sign up for the next race, I would like to go better prepared, obviously, because this was the first race. So I saw that there are a lot of places where I could improve myself as an athlete in this in the sport. So and seeing a lot of other fast athletes having coaches and like come out there and support them and give them some last minute tips on how to tackle the course. And because it was a hot day, they were getting extra bit of tips on how to hydrate. These athletes were interacting with their coach and realized the importance of having these like-minded people. And so I decided that anyways, after the race, it was just a matter of 1 or 2 months till I packed my bags and came here, so to Germany. So that's when I realized that I would require some assistance, somebody with experience who could direct me and help me become a better athlete. And I was already in talk with Subbu at that time, because in 2015 I had a chance to meet Subbu when he came down to India, when he just finished this ultra endurance cycling event, I think Ram. Yeah, so he finished that and he just came down to India to meet his family, and there was like this event where they called him for a talk and in Indranagar, and that's when I went there to meet him, and I told him that I was doing this race, and we were in touch via Facebook after that during the course. So he was giving me some tips, and I could see that there was a lot of experience in Subbu doing the sport. And I think after this race, he congratulated me for completing it, and we briefly spoke, and I asked him if he could take me on board, if he had the possibility to coach me, and we could like start once I moved to Germany. And so that's one thing I did before coming here, that I made this step towards getting somebody to overlook my overall progression to become a better athlete. So
Subbu.
that was Subbu.
Yeah.
Subbu's still my coach.
Subramani Venkatesh was
Yeah.
on this podcast. He was the fourth guest on the podcast.
Yes,
what a guy.
I have seen some of your videos. Actually, I do see some of the videos or your past guests that you've
Podcast.
called. It's quite interesting, and I was quite happy that you felt that I could also be a part of this. And yeah.
Of course. So, how did getting Subbu on board as your coach change the way you trained, and how did it help in the following races?
I would say like I also told about my small running phase of joining this group, right? It was almost the same thing, because when there is routine and discipline put together, there you can see a lot of things coming together. And this is what happened. I didn't immediately start training in 2016 with Subbu, because the priority was to come and settle down and get adapted to this new environment. It's like it was my first time traveling this far away from home, so it was all about like adapting. So I took few months. It was only till December that Subbu and I got together to start training in 2016. So when I came here in September 2016, September through November was when I was like getting settled down.
So through this period of sport till then, you were studying in India.
Yes.
And then you moved to Germany to study masters, to pursue higher education.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. I finished studying in 2014, my bachelor's, and then I worked in Bangalore till I made the transition to study again. So I was working at this firm called Ernst & Young, So I was there for about a year, and then took like half a year off just to figure things out and whether I would like to study or like find another job and stuff like that. So and after the end of that half a year, I got this chance to study. So that's when I made this shift. So
Okay.
yeah,
So
I
your
came here.
re-entry into a sport kind of coincided with your first job then.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Because I met some people in this company who were running as well, and I got in touch with some of my neighbors who were running in some standard events like TCS 10K and so forth. So it just fascinated me that these older guys were like running 10 kilometers, and I thought this is like really crazy at that time, and because
Yeah.
I had no clue or no benchmark about what endurance sport was at that time. So everything, if people said that they ran 5 kilometers, then I thought it was a big deal. And it's only exposure that makes you realize that okay, there are really tough people out there.
Yeah. So coming back to Subbu and training with him, you moved
Hmm.
to Germany and took your time settling down and started working with him from December
Yes.
2016. So
Yes.
how did that impact your progression?
So we started so Subbu was mainly looking after my bike and run training, and I was fortunate to find a swim group in the town where I live. So I was swimming with the university team for like the first 6 months, and then Subbu was helping me out with the bike and run, and we gradually started training in the sense that it was very new to me because I was not cycling outside at that time because it was sub-zero degrees for most of the time, like December, January, February. And I only started cycling outside in March, but we were cycling indoors. And so Subbu's also from the similar climatic condition. So
Correct.
he was telling me about what clothes to wear and stuff like that. So it was good exposure because I think yeah, so in Bangalore, you just would wear the same thing all through the year, right? So cycling, running, swimming, it's the same thing. Maybe a small jacket once in a while, I guess. But over here, it really, you need a big line of wardrobe, because the seasons are like very distinct. So yeah, we just started training with what baseline fitness I had at that time till what I managed to get for that first 70.3, and then um, I hadn't done any sort of bike structure training, and that's what Subbu introduced me, like again to some new concepts like cadence drills and low cadence cycling and getting off the saddle and cycling. I didn't know any of this, I just for me cycling was just pedaling and going from point A to point B, and to be introduced to all of this was absolutely new and very interesting to me because I'm just curious and I didn't question anything about what, like, he was always telling me what's the purpose of this, and I was mostly being very observant at that time and trying to absorb all of this information and following his structured training that he was sending. And also my run prior to that was like I was training with pacemakers, but none of them were like really triathletes, so they were like pure runners. So I had to also change my run training a bit because the running in triathlon is a bit different. It's the primary difference is that it's more of a strength based running because you're running on tired legs because you've already finished like 70% of your race. The last 30% is the run. So you've already redlined yourself quite a lot on the swim and the bike, and to cover that distance, you need some different style of training. So I mean, it's still the same, like interval tempo and stuff like that, but it's about placing these runs in such a way that you do it after hard bike sessions, or you do it after hard swim sessions. So this is what Subbu looked after. Like, he placed all of these things in a week for me in such a way that I became a better triathlete because of such a structured routine. And after I came here, I also got in touch with Ronnie from Belgium, who's
Yeah.
also helped a lot of people from India, right? So all the cyclists in who go there every year to train and race. So I got in touch with him, and he told me that I should like take out time to come and visit him in May. And there was also the local 70.3 race there, and I signed up for this. And so this was in May 2017, and these months prior to May was when Subbu was helping me become this more like a stronger athlete, to be able to do this sort of race in a better way. So yeah, this was the first phase of training with Subbu, and at that 70.3 race, I managed to take out 1 hour from my previous year's timing of 5 hours 44. I came down to 4 hours and 40 minutes in Belgium. Ronnie was still faster than me. I mean, that guy's quite tough. Like, he was still faster at that time. And I remember his son Luca is as old as me, and he wasn't doing any race at that time, but he was cheering and he was making fun of me that, hey, my old man is like beating you and stuff like that. so yeah, that guy was also cheeky that way. So but it was good. I'm so grateful that Ronnie called me over, because that was my first exposure to doing my triathlon, in Europe, my first ever triathlon race in Europe. So thanks to Ronnie for that. And that was in May. And in April, because you mentioned about also running, right? So I did improve on my running as well, because if you remember, I said that I did 1 hour 33 minutes in Hyderabad marathon half marathon before coming. So in April 2017, I did a local half marathon here, and I cut down 10 minutes from my half marathon as well. So I came down to 1 hour 23 minutes there.
Awesome.
So this was through Subbu's training as well,
Yeah.
that I became a stronger athlete, so I could also run better by itself. So yeah.
Awesome. And so you did 440 with your first event after signing up with the coach Subbu, right? So you but what was your best race so far? It is 419. Where was this?
419. That was in Dubai.
Okay.
In 2019, in January, no, in February. February 1st was the race in 2019. I did in Dubai. But I still think that one of my good races was maybe the 70.3 World Championships that I did in 2018, because the course was much tougher, and I had like this tendonitis issue during that year. So I didn't have any run training, and I think I was able to run only 2 weeks before the race. And we made sure that I didn't run more than 10 kilometers in those 2 weeks, because I didn't want that inflammation, because it was tendonitis. So it's an inflammation issue. So it was super challenging, because this was the first time I faced an injury since training with Subbu, and this was a huge learning curve for me, because I was really the guy pushing my limits all the time, and I didn't know that there's a possibility that the body can break, and you need to account for that. And this was when this was a huge learning curve for me, and because I had the issue of tendonitis during that year earlier as well, but I just ran through it, and I didn't tell Subbu about this, because I felt that you just have to be tough and go ahead, and that was not wise. So that was a huge learning curve, and I think to fight all that out and to come back and race at the World Championships, because it was my first ever World Championship. So I did quite well because I improved my bike to a very good level, that even though it was a hilly course in that World Championship, I was like able to bike as fast as my friends out here in Germany who were doing the sport for like 10 to 15 years. So I was able to bridge that level of fitness during that phase from 2017 to 18. So I would still account the World Championships to be one of my, even though the time doesn't show, because it's hard to really compare times between races because all courses
different courses, right?
Yeah, because the most recent race I did 4 hours 23 minutes, and I think this was really one of my best races because I did it in the Alps, and the bike course had 1,100 meters of elevation gain. So
wow.
To get off that, and Dubai was like maybe less than 200 meters of elevation. So
it's flat, right?
it's hard to compare. It's hard to compare because the one I did on Sunday was super technical because of the descents. It's not like straight down. It's a lot of hairpin curves and stuff like that. So you need to be. It's not about putting your head down and pedaling like in Dubai. Here you need to know where to push power, where to hold back, because there are these hills. And if you've gassed out before the hill starts, then your average speed will drop eventually. So it's about pacing yourself and a lot of strategy. So I think the most recent race was one of my good ones as well, because I didn't swim at all since 8 months because of lockdown, and I only started swimming two and a half weeks before this race. And to pull it, to just do that, it was a huge confidence booster for me. So I still hold a lot of not like I'm quite happy that I could go so fast in Dubai, but the other races are courses, because it's always good to go on a flat course. That's always good for your time and stuff. But I think when you're able to go do well on a tough technical course, I think that's when you know that you're a good triathlete. You know that you can handle your bike quite well, and still run off the bike. So that is more rewarding, in my opinion.
Definitely. So, to put that in perspective, the flat route in Dubai versus, considerable elevation in the recent one in Alps, the time difference is 4 minutes. It is that shows that you have made considerable progress since then as well, right?
Yes. I think I focused a lot on my bike since this pandemic started, because I could not swim. So I had that extra bit of time to focus on my bike. And also my other goal was to do an Ironman as well. So I had to spend a little more time on my bike and get better at enduring this effort. So I spent a lot of time biking and running more than swimming in the last years because of lockdowns. It's hard to swim. And over here, you can only swim outdoors for like 3 or 4 months in the whole year, because the rest of the time it's quite cold. So I tried, and this is also one of the reasons why I like doing triathlon, because you can always be satisfied, because if you can't do one, then you can do the other sport a little more and be satisfied. So this is what I could do. And doing this, spending more time on the bike, doing longer rides, like for 5 hours and 5.5 hours in the last year, and also at the start of this year, helped me condition myself, like helped me improve my my muscle groups on the legs, and generally on holding that power on the TT position. And it could be seen on this sort of shorter race as well, because my strength had improved so much, my back had got stronger, and because of this I could like run off the bike quite well, because I had the fastest half marathon ever in my whole 70.3 career so far. I was able to run a 1 hour 20-minute half marathon on Sunday off
Wow.
the bike after this hilly course. So and this was the European Championships, and to be able to run the fourth fastest run split, like the run time in this age group with like these really tough European athletes who've been. I just need to get better at the bike, so I'm like in a better in like a stronger position to chase these guys, because I came off the bike at 29th position and I made 14 positions on the run. So I
Wow.
think that was a good sign. So yeah, so it's not just that I became a good biker, but I became an efficient biker because I had that energy to hit off a good half marathon. Again, it was a hilly run course because again it's in the Alps, so it was around the lake, so it was like up and down a bit, and it was about 29 degrees, and it was at 800 meters of altitude. So the sun really hits you at that.
Yeah.
In the mountains, when the sun is out, it really pricks you, and I like these conditions because I love heat. I generally do better in hotter conditions, so this worked in my favor. Yeah, so I think the most recent one was, I would say, a good sign that I've improved from 2017 to 2021. Like, I think I've come a certain long way from there with this.
Definitely. But it is not always all the races, all the training goes well. All the races might not go as well as you want. Like, for example, I think your Turkey race in 2019 was
Yeah,
one where you were in really good shape, but you crashed on the bike, right? Tell us
yeah.
about that. What happened there?
Um, that was Turkey was a really I mean, my situation in that race was a bit sad because um, yeah, I was in a fairly good shape. I think I could have like certainly gone faster than even 419. Like I felt that I could have gone under even 410 there because I was in really good running shape as well. And I was on point, I think, but yeah, that was also my first experience of having a crash in a race, and yeah, it was unfortunate that I was at that point where the guy in front of me, his tire burst and he lost control. And like, when you're in the aero position, like just 12 meters behind this guy, um, like going at 45 kilometers per hour, because it was a flat course, again, super fast course. I think it was I couldn't do much because this guy fell. His bike was on one side, he was on one side, and it had spread so much that I could not, like, by the time I come out and handle the bike, I could only avoid hitting him, so which was a fair thing to do, and hit his bike instead. And that's what happened. And then I fell off and yeah, bruised myself, and it was a bit of a shocking experience because after that, sitting on the side of the road, the ambulance took a long time to come, and I was just sitting there, and to see like the other guys pass me, like, because I was like in the first few guys of this race, because there were no professionals in the race. So I managed to be in the first 20 or 25 people of this race. So I was quite ahead of the race. And to see like 100 guys pass by me, it was, I mean, I was already like in pain, and like, to see the race go by, it was like quite a bit of a heavy feeling to take in. And then my mother was also there. She was super worried. The ambulance came quite late and all of that. So
So how do you
yeah.
kind of there are obviously there are ups where everything goes according to the plan, and then there are downs like this. How do you stay motivated through ups and downs like this through the sport is one of the question that our good friend Pooja asked you. I think she was also there around that time.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I felt bad at that time. I cried as well when I went to the hospital. Like my mother came later, so yeah, I as soon as I saw my mother, I was like crying. I don't know, like there's a lot of emotions held back at that time because yeah, I got myself like they taped me up and all of that, and quite a lot of bruises, and it's still there, like it's still there, so it's gonna be there for life, I guess. So but it's okay, like yeah, so I cried, and I think I went back to the race. I didn't want to go back to the room because I just wanted to be outside. Like I wanted to not have time to reflect at that time, but I just wanted to still be there around people because that would have helped me, take out a lot of negative weight from my mentally. So I just went, saw the race, and it was a good experience. I mean, it's okay like to have this crash because there were other friends of mine who were racing as well. So I thought, let me just go and cheer them on the course. And I like put on my mother had a jacket, so I just put that on, so my band, like these tapes don't be seen by other athletes. So I just went there like that and was walking around, limping around, and met the other guy who also had this crash at the cafe there, and we just said, yeah, like shit happens, and and then yeah, all in good, all in good way. And yeah, after that I continued with my holiday. I think 2 days after that was my birthday as well. So it was good. I mean, I got a holiday after that because I just started doing my PhD at that time, and before all of this I also had the same tendonitis injury, so I missed another race on that 2018 as well. So Turkey was like more of a comeback race for me, which was not really a comeback race. I ended up at the hospital, but nevertheless got an experience of this, that this is also a possibility in the race, and you have to prepare for all these eventualities because crashes are a part of racing as well. And I had seen this before, like some of my friends had crashes, and I saw them that when they came back, they reflected and they started racing hard again. So all of those thoughts came to me, and I felt that even I could do the same thing, and there'll always be another race. And came back and tried to recover a bit. And yes, I was highly demotivated to train again. Like I could not see the bike for some time because to like it, those memories come back to you a bit. Like I'm just glad my bones didn't break. I just lost a lot of skin, which is okay, better than breaking bones, I guess, in that situation. So it took some time, about 2 to 3 months, for me to get back into a routine. Like this race was in November, and December was going to come back home again for a short break during Christmas. And I still didn't start training again because I had to wait for this to recover. And we started training only when I came back, like in mid-January. So the time from November, December, and January was when I was still doing my training, but not like with any focus on any event or anything, but more of like just keeping keeping shape, that
Maintenance mode.
yeah, maintenance. So moved into a new apartment, so I had to like fix furniture. So I just wanted to focus on something else and not sport at that time because yeah, I could not fully train. So I diverted my mind, and it was good because that break was refreshing for me. I could like do something else during that time. I tried skiing a bit and all of that in the winter instead of like trying to train for a triathlon. It's much harder to do like a summer sport in winter. So I took a step back to just relax a bit. So this was a good downtime for me. And when I came back to train again in mid-Jan, I felt more fresh and quite motivated to go back into this routine of consistent training and like chase this goal of being a more fit athlete. So I think the downtime was a good indicator, because yeah, like many people think that you may have to train all the time, but I think it's not the way it is. It's important to balance life as well, because there's more than just training or doing, like, sport is good, but I think it's important to balance out in such a way that you're not consumed by this, and having a short downfall like a crash doesn't impact you so much that it takes away your identity or something like that. So I think to have different things to do will benefited me, because I just started work as well. So that was an exciting thing for me to spend some time on this new research and like fixing furnitures, and like all of this was something which I diverted my mind and energy towards, which and in the simultaneously I was healing as well. I was regenerating my wounds and all of that. So that helped me. So and Subbu was also very understanding that way. Like he said, yeah, like just chill. There's no point of pushing anything at this moment, because there's no real purpose for like going hard at this, because there are no races. It's winter, so just chill out and yeah, if you feel like running or cycling, just do it, but do it as a recreational athlete. Don't do it as a serious athlete or something like this. So all of this helped. So yeah, support from your first circle of people who look after you during your time as of being a good progressing as a better athlete, also supporting you in the downtime as well, gives you the satisfaction that, okay, I really need this downtime. So yeah.
Excellent.
And yeah.
Yeah, the having that downtime and having that support system around you who can who can take care of things, not just when the things are looking up, but also when things are down, is very important. And having maybe shifting the focus to some other things that need more attention will also take away some of that attention from the negativity, right? So that's a good way to deal with
yes
it. I was going to ask, when you are training at top level and consistently pushing yourself, it is there is something called overreaching and something called overtraining, right? So overreaching is something that would benefit you, but overtraining is something that will kind of put you in a hole. So it is not always straightforward to identify that. How do you kind of figure out what where you are in terms of are you, when you are feeling fatigued, are you overreaching or overtraining? How do you identify this?
I think it was a process, because I also evolved as an athlete while in the last 3 to 4 years while I was training when training under Subbu, because in 2017 was like, it was all exciting structured training, and I was getting into this zone. And then when I saw that I could also be as good as the other athletes standing on the podium, and then I could also like see their training files on Strava and stuff like that, distracted, that I felt that I also need to train more. So I had this attitude of more is better, and and they were like, and Subbu didn't like it that I was getting into this mentality of doing more, and this is why I ended up getting injured. And 2018 and 2019, like I just felt like I need to be fit all through the year, and this was a mistake. And this is like really not a good thing, because in 2018 and 2019, I started my season quite early. I would say the best example would be 2019 when I did Dubai. I trained so hard during the winter because I had to get fit for this race, and I trained really hard. I got successfully did well to my expectations in Dubai, but the amount of stress that my body went through in order to get to that level in cold winter conditions, when all my other athlete friends here in Germany were like just doing base training and warming up for the races here in summer, I was already fatigued by March of that year. And that's when and Subbu specifically told me that, okay, like good that you did this race. I would like you to take 2 weeks completely off, like, take a downtime so you come back refreshed. And I did not listen. Like I just was still training, and then joining these guys for extra long swim sessions and all of that, which was unnecessary for me because their goals were different, my goals were different, and I had this idea that this mentality that more is better at that time. And I was like, okay, I just gonna do more and more and more, and I think in this went on, and I also went for a training camp, and I was again pushing my limit out there as well. Like I was clocking 25 hours of training, which per week, which I hadn't like ever done before, and my body held up. But then when I came back, like I said, I just want to do like this sort of time trial half marathon, and ran, and my body was like gone after that. Like I got this tendinitis. Yeah, this was the time when I was not listening, and I was just um, focused more on just doing more without doing more without any purpose, like thinking. And I could see that I was deteriorating in my other aspects of life. That was like I was writing my master thesis at that time, and that got affected because I was spending time on training like this. And that period was after I got injured. I had to cancel my next race because I could not start there. And the good part was that, like, Subbu was not the guy who said, "Oh, I told you so." He just let me reflect on this, and I reflected, and I realized that more is not good. It's about like balancing and trying to peak at the right time. And you cannot be race ready for 12 months. You can only be race ready for a certain period and a time. And this was the time when I could sort of embrace this information for myself, saying that I need to do this. I cannot like do hard race in January and expect to keep this fitness all the way till September, and that is like ridiculous. And this was when it hit me, like, you have to back out, and like give time to doing other stuff as well, so you have like a more meaningful life, that you're also fulfilling your, like, for me, I was fulfilling my goals as a student as well as an athlete in equally, and not like letting one consume the other, or like in this case sport consume. So that was my real learning phase, where I wanted, like, I don't know, for some reason I was like trying to cycle 15 hours a week when it was not required, and I was still trying to run like another 4 hours and then swim another 3 hours. And that was like, it looked good, like it looked like, yeah, this guy's like really going hard, but the body was not like accepting it like in the right way. It was just I was walking the fine line till it snapped, and that snap happened in April, and April through July was when I could not like run again because of tendinitis. And I reflected on this, that I have to chill out and listen to my coach, because he knows it better. If he's managed to make me a better athlete till now, then I have to just follow the instructions and follow his guidance, and I would like become better. And that's when I became less of this sort of, you know, more is better kind of person, and decided to step back and like be more communicate communicate better with also my coach, saying that okay, like this week I cannot like handle this work, this training load, because I need to prioritize on my work because of some deadlines there. So this helped me, because that way I am in less stress. Like I don't have to like hustle, that okay, I need to work hard in my research, and I need to train hard as well. So the days I felt that I am quite spent and I cannot do a threshold session on this day, like could you rearrange it in such a way that it's on another day and I could still benefit from the session? Then I started like communicating better and evolved as a more well balanced athlete, considering that I need to I need to take care of my life outside of doing triathlon, as well as take care of triathlon. So that was the main learning phase for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. That kind of being communicative with your coach, and also listening to and having that dialogue, as in, if you want to do more, why? And if when he says no, why not? So, that kind of dialogue. Sometimes, of course, you still want to go ahead and do whatever you want, and then learn from that, right? So that, I guess, that is what happened in your case, by ending up overtraining and ending up injured. uh, helped you realize that more is not always better. What is your typical race day nutrition and hydration for an event like 70.3 look like?
So maybe let's take last Sunday, because it's the most recent one. I remember everything the back of my head. So my usual race day breakfast. So like the good thing is the races here don't start too early. So, you can get that time to have a good solid breakfast. So it starts at like 9 o'clock. So it gives me this time to wake up and stretch out and then have breakfast. So it's usually porridge with lots of fruits and fruits and oat milk, and then coffee. This and dates and figs. Like this is what I like load myself up with. And certainly the previous days I'm like carb loading as well. Like I'm eating pasta or like rice and dal, whichever is convenient. Like I try to eat as what's convenient to, like if there's a kitchen in like the place where I'm staying, then I cook my stuff. If not, then I eat out. And I think when I eat out, the easiest thing to do in Europe is to get Italian food. It's like nutritious, it's got the right balance of carbs and proteins and fat and all of this, which you need for like a race like 70.3, because you're burning calories and you need high calorie food. So this is what I do, like try to eat as healthy as I can, and I mean eat often, snack. So on race day I have like, this is what I had, and then I was like sipping what I went to the race, and for my race I had like on the swim I before going to the swim, I was just sipping water to keep that hydration at the best optimal level. So finished the swim on the bike. I had 3 bottles on my bike. One bottle had, 2 bottles had electrolyte, a total of 750 ml plus 550 ml. So that's, about 1300 ml of electrolyte. So that was what I had. And then another bottle with gels in it. Like I had 4 gels with water. This was what I used for the bike for 2 hours, 25 minutes. This worked quite well for me. And then I came to the run, and in my shoe, I'd put in 1 gel so I don't forget. Like, before I wear the shoe, I can like take the gel out and not forget it. So put on my shoes, and within the first kilometer, I popped this 5th gel. And the first 8 station, I drank water, and I mostly drank water in the next 8 stations because I did not want to concentrate my stomach because of all the electrolytes and gel I had so far. And and then when I felt a bit, like when I felt my stomach was easy, then the following 8 stations, I was sipping Red Bull. I usually don't drink Red Bull if I'm not doing sport, because I don't think it's too healthy. But when you're doing sport, it's fine, I guess. It gives you that right kick.
Especially for the
So
race
I
days.
was
Yeah.
sipping Red Bull at all. Yes, yes. I think for me, like on the run, I like having Red Bull with a bit of water, like 3 sips of Red Bull and then 2 sips of water, so it doesn't like it's balanced out. It's not too concentrated. So I managed this, and at the 12th kilometer was when I decided to have another gel. So that was the 6th gel, and then drank water and till the end of the race. Then because I was that gel was enough for another 30 minutes of racing, which was like another 8.5 kilometers for me. So that gel was enough, and I just needed to keep the water all right and not get dehydrated. So all in all, I had 1,300 ml of electrolytes, and electrolyte, like it was a carb-based electrolyte drink, carbohydrate-based electrolyte drink, and then 4 gels on the bike, 2 gels on the run, and you could say cumulative Red Bull would be about maybe Red Bull on the run, and water. The rest of it was just water. So this is what I needed to last for 4 hours and 23 minutes on
Okay.
Sunday.
That gives a good indication of the kind of hydration and nutrition that you would need in a race like that. So thanks for sharing that. But
Yeah.
how different is your training nutrition and hydration from your race day nutrition and hydration?
Not very different, I would say, because I still use my electrolytes because it's what I always require. Because as long as you're training, you're sweating, losing minerals from your body. So I always use the same electrolyte, and depending on the session, the quantity changes. So typically, I would require about maybe 400 ml of electrolyte per hour when I'm riding with efforts on the bike. So and the only difference I would say is that I would carry maybe bananas while I do my long rides, because it's like it's when you're doing your training rides, I'm not riding for speed, I'm just riding for power, because it's like there's traffic on the road, and traffic lights, and like lots of disturbance. So it's always good to ride defensively that time. So I try to like pause if I'm like running low on calories. So I try to eat my bananas, or like I take some these these energy chews that you get, right? Which are
Correct.
something like these Haribo
Blocks.
kind of, these blocks. So I take that as well. And during it varies, because if it's like summer and it's really hot, then I would make a small stop at a gas station and get a Red Bull or a Coca-Cola just to get that extra bit of sugar, and also get some water and carry like a little more electrolyte with me so I can make another bottle for the remainder of the ride. So it's almost the same thing. I don't really depend a lot on solid food. I would like to, like, even going forward, when I do an Ironman, I think I would like mostly depend on liquid food, because I think it's the best way to absorb your body to accept it. Like, your stomach needs to accept these gels, and so I think for this reason I keep it the same way while training as
Training as
well.
well. Okay.
Yeah, it's just that I change the positions of the bottle just to be able to, like, when I race, I put a bottle on my TT bar and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of changing my bottle positions a few weeks before the race to be able to focus on my position and take out the bottle and sip. So that's the only difference I would say that I focus on closer to the race. But nutrition wise, it stays the same. If it's like a hot day, then I add like a pinch of salt to my bottles just to get that extra bit of salt. I think I try to keep it as simple, and I only changed my electrolyte brand quite like last year, because like I was saying that I was focusing on this Ironman distance. So I wanted to change to the brand that was offered on that Ironman race. So I can like really prepare my stomach to accept that those gels from that brand and also the electrolytes. So that was the intention.
That is quite good thinking, I think. So what is available there is, if you get used to that, it will be better for your system. Excellent.
Yes.
What brand is that?
So that it's called Enervit, Enervit. So not sure if it's famous in India
Europe,
at the moment. Yeah, it's a European brand. And prior to that, I was using Dextro Energy. So that's also European. And yeah, a Power Bar, I was always using it. I think it's also quite popular in India. So 3 brands are.
Nice. So you talked about your next goal as Ironman. When is that event, and where?
I have postponed it. Like, I would have liked to do it this year, but like I said, I'm making this relocation again next month. So this Ironman was supposed to happen in August 23rd in Copenhagen. So I have decided to do it next year. Also because I don't have enough swim training, so I think it makes sense to like do this race when I really get a chance to train as a triathlete, as like pre-COVID times, So though this race organizer said that there's a possibility to also do the bike and run, and I think I'm not so desperate, to do this. It's okay. Like, it's okay to wait, because sometimes when you wait, and the more you wait, I think the sweeter the feeling of doing this race, because you will have better fitness, and it's not like I'm getting old or something. I'm still like 29. So I think, so it's okay to wait one more year and go with better fitness.
And you'll still be in Denmark at that time. So
yeah, for another 3 years. Yes.
Yeah. So where in Denmark will you be?
It's this town called Aalborg. It's in the northern part
Aalborg.
of.
Aalborg, I visited in 2015 when World Championships, Amateur World Championships was going on. So, it's a beautiful place. A lot of up and down, rolling kind of terrain.
Yes, and the wind. So I'm looking forward.
Always windy.
Yes. I'm looking forward, and plus I think I'm hoping that I can up my cycling there, because these Danish guys are really good
Oh
at
yeah.
cycling. I've seen these guys on races, and even these age groupers, they come with like their chain rings are not less than 55. They that's the amount of power they can push on these pedals, and it's insane. Like
Yeah, they don't have any hills, so
yeah,
they call bergs whatever the flyovers we have here
yeah,
are their hills. So it's like,
yes,
but they all train so hard and they're so strong. It's unbelievable.
yeah,
I'm sure you're going to have a
absolutely,
really
yeah.
good time there.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the scene would be there.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So it, it's been great chat with you, Sujay. So what, to conclude this session, what are some of the tips you would give to working athletes to do well in sport while doing well at work and family lives?
Um, I would say like the most important thing is to always balance everything out. It can always be overwhelming to do such a complex sport like triathlon, because it has three real sports that you have to focus on, and over that you need to look after your body with right nutrition and right recovery. So it's a complex process, and I think there's no point in rushing through this sport. Like, I think if you really like the sport, then it's important that you let it integrate into your life and not force it to come into your life. And just for like one event or something like this, just it's important to have this as a lifestyle, because even without the races, I think one should be able to do all the three sports, or like train for this with equal motivation. So to have that, I think it's important to let it be as organic as possible and not force anything. Like, don't get carried away with what others are doing, because everybody have like different priorities and different lifestyles, and it's a highly individual sport, because there are three events, the three sports. So you need to know when you can commit time in the week. It may not be the same as others. So if like you see on Strava somebody doing a super hard day and you're unable to train that day because of work, then I think it's the wise thing to do is not care about that and just focus on your thing. Because I learned it the hard way, and it's okay to also learn it the hard way. But overall, like, I think it's important to take baby steps and keep this as a lifestyle goal, and not like a bucket list goal or something like this.
Yeah.
This, like, train hard for this Ironman and then just not do anything after that. I think this is not a good attitude in such, because sometimes it's okay if you can't do a triathlon, you can always do something else like a duathlon as well, in case you're unable to swim, or like, just do one of the sports, focus on them. And that's the beauty of the sport, that you have fitness to do three different sports. And sometimes it's also okay to have sub goals, like running a fast marathon or something like this, in case you're unable to do a triathlon race that year because of other commitments. So it's important to have year on year progression as towards fitness, because when you're fit you can always race hard.
Yeah.
So I think it's a process.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, Sujay. That has been an excellent session. I really enjoyed the chat. I'm sure the audience will have so many things to take away from this. For the listeners, you can follow Sujay on Strava for all his awesome workouts and races, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future episodes like the awesome chat that we have with Sujay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.